Hey everybody, I decided to finally do my correspondence video today. I was actually going to do a video on Astara since that's like Saturday, and I kind of wanted to do it before Astara came around. But even though it was an absolutely gorgeous spring day today, I'm really not in an Astara mood, so I can't really promise that I'm going to do a video on it. So if you really are wanting some Astara references, and you can put off your Star ritual for a while. In addition to the Sabbats book by Dane McCoy that I mentioned in a few videos ago, there's this awesome book called Ancient Ways by Pauline Campanelli, and it will give you absolutely everything you ever wanted to know about Astara and all the other Sabbats, really. So, sorry about that. But correspondences, woo! Correspondences are seemingly simple, but depending on how deeply you delve into the subject, it can be a little more complicated. And if you're wondering what I mean by correspondences, I'm talking about like what you use colors or herbs or stones or things like that for. For example, the typical use for red, the color red, would be love or lust, sexuality, passion, things like that. I mean, there's obviously a bunch more uses that are commonly known, but that's what we think of when we think of red most often. So those correspondences come down to your culture most of the time. Some cultures will obviously have different feelings about different colors, so it's going to change depending on where you were raised and things like that. But to start you off, there are awesome books about correspondences, and I mentioned the Complete Idiot's Guide to Wicca and Witchcraft that will have all the tables pretty much laid out for you, so you can have those as a starting point. If you're looking for something about stones, you can look at Cunningham's Encyclopedia of Crystal, Gem, and Metal Magic. It's really good. And his Magical Herbalism and Incenses, Oils, and Brews, both also by Cunningham. Those are really good starting points. But like I said, it can get a little more complex, and it's a lot more work, and I'm wondering who just turned off the video after me saying that. It'll help you in the long run if you do the work to delve deeper into correspondences and make them more personal. For example, correspondences, in addition to having to do with your culture, especially for color, they'll have to do with history, especially for stones and herbs. They'll have to do with where those herbs and things were found, and the cultures that came up with lore around them. They'll have to do with what they're, like in this case of herbs, what they're actually used for in healing and herbal remedies and things like that. For stones, they'll have to do with their worth and their energies as well. And their energies is what you should really focus on when you're starting to work with crystals. You should really try to meditate with whatever crystal you're going to be using, especially ones you plan on working with often, so that you can find its energy that will be unique to you. After that exercise, people may not agree with you about what the stone feels like, but it's your personal reflection on the stone. It's how it appealed to you. And a good starting point for that is if you're going to do some sort of magical working, you might consider the color, because those are easier to start with, to be honest. If you look at the colors and you think of what they mean to you personally, for example, yellow. Yellow is kind of one not many people think of a lot. They're just kind of like, yellow is happy and yay. But beyond that, I see it as appealing to knowledge and education. I see it as appealing to friendship, etc., self-confidence, things like that. So if you start with that and you wanted to do a spell for one of those things or something that yellow means to you, you would choose yellow stones and start meditating with them and see how their energies match up with what you want to do. And as you do this, you're going to want to start your own correspondence tables, maybe in your Book of Shadows or something like that, so it's easy to find, so that you will have a record of what these stones and herbs and things like that mean to you. I'm not saying that the correspondences that people historically used are wrong. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that, like everything else, if you reflect on it and you really think about why moonstone is used for divination or dreams, then you might find that you disagree with it, or you might find why it's that way for you. For example, the first reason I started really looking into correspondences was because of the color red. I wanted to do a love spell, and I started thinking about the color red and how it seemed much more passionate and sexual than any other color to me, and how in a love spell that's not necessarily what I wanted, because I was looking for a partner. And yes, sex is a part of any relationship, but I wanted it to be more about caring for each other and appreciating each other and things like that. So I selected the color pink. And I use pink for most of the love spells that I have done, whether they were love spells having to do with family and friends or actual lovers, unless I really felt red was more suited to the spell that I was doing. It's something to think about, really, because correspondences are very important in your rituals, because, as I've said before, especially with color, they're symbols. They trigger your younger self, and I know I still need to do that younger, middle, and higher self video. They trigger your younger self to what you're doing. They kind of raise that flag and they're like, oh, focus on love now. And it's very important to have all parts of yourself focused on the purpose of why you're there that evening. It's a little different with stones and herbs, to be honest, because they're actual entities. They are living, and or were, but they have their own essence, and until you're in tune with that, you're not going to be able to successfully work with stones or herbs or oils or anything like that, any botanicals. So it's just important to form a relationship with what you're going to be working with magically, so that it will aid you in achieving your purposes. If anyone has any questions about herbs and stones, I'd be happy to answer them, and I will try really hard to do that Astara video. It's kind of difficult for me because I've only celebrated Astara in a group context, so I'm not very versed in Astara lore, but I'm going to try to do some research and put a video together. It might be really basic, but I hope it is helpful to someone. So I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.